Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I mean, a little bit about ourselves. I'm Nick, and I'm the community engagement coordinator here at Mission Possible. And
My name is Jess. I am the Momentum coordinator.
we both work here at Mission Possible, which is an economic development program in the downtown east side that focuses on supporting individuals who have multiple barriers to employment rejoin the workforce through our employment readiness program, which is our cornerstone program. And we've got the employment readiness program as one, and then a power breakfast meal program that happens every Saturday to support the community with its food security needs. And most recently, we've also started a community pantry, which is just for those individuals who work as part of the employment readiness program who are struggling with some of their food security. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of who we are as an organization.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the second question. What inspired both of you to join Mission Possible?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I have a background in international development, and in school, I focused a lot of it on economic development, mostly focused abroad. But when it came to actually get a job in the field, it was, I figured that it would be a good part of, good for my professional development to focus locally. But it was also about, how do you call it? Just relearning and learning about the community, and also the misconceptions that a lot of people have about the downtown east side. So that drew me into the work as well.
Yeah, and for myself, similar. But when I moved to Vancouver, this area was much interest to me as well. I just wanted to learn more about it. And my background is in psychology, and I was also very interested in the coaching that they do here. And in general, the training and like the workshops that are given.
That's good to hear. Why do you think it's important to discuss homelessness in the community?
I think it's really important for people to talk about it more. There's a lot of misconceptions about people that experience homelessness, and about their situations and how they got to being without housing. And I think talking about it would really increase some of the understanding for people, and that is really important for so many reasons. To make sure that there's dignity for people with homelessness that experience homelessness, and also very much to with each other discuss opportunities to make the situation better, and in general what can be done, and what are people's thoughts about that, and how can they help.
Right, so you talked about some misconceptions about homeless people, right? Could you maybe name some of the misconceptions people regularly have regarding homeless people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this, just by the way that media portrays the neighborhood in general at Anthony's side. There's some serious challenges in the neighborhood, but a lot of the times the press just focuses on all those negatives. Some of those misconceptions may be, they're all addicts, so they're all involved in drug use, which is definitely not true. A lot of them are involved in criminal activities. That's another misconception that occurs. That is their own fault, maybe, that they're not responsible enough to manage their own, lives, or that they're not smart enough to get out of, poverty. And all of those things are just completely false, right? I mean, there is elements of, mental health and addiction and poverty, but a lot of it is just much bigger conversation than just simply labeling people as unable to overcome those issues, right? It is a collective effort that would have to address
that. So how do you think homeless people are discriminated? I know you mentioned some, but maybe think about more examples about how they're discriminated in our community.
Yeah, I think discrimination is a huge thing that people are dealing with, and it really starts with not being let into certain places. Like this can be people or places that people usually enjoy going to. So like, public spaces like parks and things like that, like a cinema or things like that, or restaurants. But it also goes further than that in the way that, there's a lot of stigma, and this really might affect also when people are searching for housing. If tenants want to rent their place out to people, employers are oftentimes apprehensive in hiring individuals who have experienced homelessness. So it really goes really far. And also, having that said, I think there's a big percentage of people that experience homelessness that are First Nations or are part of some other minority groups. And so there's a lot of other discrimination there as well.
Okay, so as we know right now, we're in a pandemic, right? In the second lockdown as well. How would you guys say this pandemic has affected the homeless population of Vancouver?
Yeah, well, I think, from the perspective of where we're working, earlier during the pandemic, back in March, and subsequently when the original lockdown was in place, and a lot of essential services were also closed down. Libraries, we tend to think libraries for granted, but in this community and generally for low income folks, libraries are a huge resource, right? As a place where they can get entertainment, they can get access to internet. Is really just a getaway for a lot of the things that they need. And so when that was closed down, it affected quite a few individuals in this neighborhood. Homeless people that would just go, for respite, to just borrow a book, to get warm, could no longer do that. And to a certain degree, even with the partial reopening of the province, that's also been an issue for a lot of these public spaces that are indoors. We've also seen, an increase in food insecurity in the neighborhood, at least from the perspective of where Mission Possible is providing breakfast. Prior to March of this year, we would host 100 people for breakfast on a weekly basis. And now the average is about 250. Which is more than double the amount of people. So those are, I think, some very tangible, immediate consequences of how people have been affected. But there's a lot more, and you can probably expand on that as well.
Yeah, I also want to mention that even though for people that aren't homeless in this moment, the pandemic might increase the risk of becoming homeless. In general, a lot of things have moved to being online, and there's a lot of people that just don't have access to be doing that. So even thinking about doctors, other important appointments that are usually now either over the phone or over some other video calling, and that might not be an option for people. It really has lots of effects that we might not think about right away, but in general, just access to even just sanitation stations and things like that. Even if you can get into a shelter, it might be that, how safe is it to be in a shelter? That's not only for people that experience homelessness, but also for example, a library can have big consequences. And another thing we often hear is that people just are dealing with more anxiety and depression, also because of not having certain events and other things happening where people can be social and just feeling very isolated.
Yeah, the lack of social connection has been a real challenge for a lot of people throughout the province, I think. but particularly so for individuals who are already marginalized. We think of homelessness as being an issue, but being improperly housed is also an issue. A lot of people in this neighborhood live in single room occupancy hotels, which are essentially a tiny room that sometimes don't even have the basic, necessities like a washroom or a hot plate to cook a meal. And so, being isolated in this one tiny space can also have serious repercussions for your mental health.
Sorry, I think the Wi-Fi is because you're cutting out.
Sorry, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Interruption there.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Were you continuing talking about the question, or were you done? Because the Wi-Fi, I couldn't really understand.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we were just done. So Nick talked a little bit about
Like people who are also improperly housed.
Oh, right.
People.
Got that.
yeah.
So if you got that, then I think that's where we ended.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yes,
Yeah. I guess I can move on to my next question. What impact has Mission Impossible made on homelessness?
For sure. So as an organization that's been around since 1992, I think a lot of the focus of Mission Possible earlier on was on basic provision of services for individuals who were struggling with poverty, among those people facing homelessness. And one of the key things that Mission Possible used to do many, many years ago was the provision of food. And we've carried that on with us, though to a much smaller capacity nowadays. But now our main focus is really the transitional employment opportunities that we have through our social enterprise, our employment readiness program, that are supporting people lead more sustainable livelihoods, right? The ability to have a job is preventative to becoming homeless, essentially, right? Like if you have a job and you have an secure income, you are less likely to have to be evicted, to meet your financial commitments and so on. So that's the impact that Mission Possible is having is, I think, a little bit on the prevention side rather than on the immediate need outside from food. I don't know, Jess, if you'd like to add anything to that.
Yeah, I'd like to add that, especially also in this within the neighborhood here to check in with people on the streets, with businesses, and just see, how are things going and what are resources that people are needing. And just in general having, little conversations with people. And I think right now that's even more important. And also what we've been doing is offering people masks. So they are going out and they hand out a lot of the masks that we often got as donations from people who have been making masks. So yeah, that's just more pandemic related that they're doing as well.
That's great to hear. I don't know if my friend is still in the call.
I am, yeah, hi. I think that sums up all of our questions for today. Thank you so much for your time and coming out here and actually being able to talk to us, and especially in these times where you guys are probably needed much more than we are. Yeah, thanks a lot for coming out here and taking some of your time just to talk to us about these problems.
Yeah, we're happy to do so. Good luck with your project. We definitely hope to hear about how it goes. So please keep us in the loop. We'd love to see how this evolves with you.
Yeah. Once we finish our video, we'll be sending out the video to all the people we've interviewed. And if you're happy about it, just let us know. Give us feedback. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll
That's
definitely
great.
do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.